Hey y'all, Mike here. Welcome back to today's our adventure. In the last video, we got our brain for our new Victron system installed, the Cerbo GX and its 7-inch touchscreen. We managed to get it mounted right in the cabinet for a factory finish look, and I could not be happier with how it turned out. Today, we're moving into the heart of the system, the Victron Lynx Distributor. Think of this like a central nervous system for our 12-volt components. Why use a box like this instead of just running wires to the battery? There are 3 big reasons, and here they are. Number 1, safety and organization. It eliminates that rat nest of wires you often see on battery terminals and keeps your high amperage cables neatly managed. Number 2, centralized fusing. Every single component gets its own properly sized fuse in one central and easy to access place. Number 3, a clean look, which is very important to me, and it makes it look professional and it's a serviceable installation. Plus, it even has a circuit that can tell you if a fuse is blown if you add the optional power source to it or the Lynx BMS system. This is an awesome piece of equipment, so let's get started. Now for a standard disclaimer. Although I'm a certified RV tech and have a background in electronics, this video is for entertainment purposes only. A power system installation involves serious risks. If you have any doubts, please hire a professional installer. One more critical note here before we get started. Nothing here is connected to the batteries or solar panels yet. We are building this system offline and the RV is running on its original factory system. This is the safest way to do it. Alright, let's get into this. Step 1 is the prep of the bay and removal of any of the old components. What I'm going to remove here is I'm going to remove our old 2000 watt inverter and our old solar charge controller that came with the RV. Now for a super important safety tip. Make sure that you cover your solar panels with either a blanket or a piece of cardboard to keep the sun from getting to them. However, they are still going to be powered at least a little bit. So when you get done, make sure that you cap the wires coming out of your solar charge controllers and you label them properly. So let's move on to step 2, which is to mount everything first. With the old controller out of the way, I have a clean slate to work with. My next step in this big install is to get all of the major components mounted before running a single wire. This lets you visualize the wire paths and make sure everything fits properly. In this install, I already mounted the Victron Multi-Plus 2 120 volt inverter charger, the Victron solar charge controller, the Victron Smart Shunt, the Victron DC to DC charger, and of course the Lynx 1000 distributor itself. An important note here is to read the installation manual first for each of the components. Some of them require a certain amount of airspace around them for proper ventilation. Alright, step 3 in this install is probably one of the most difficult ones. With everything in place, it's time to make some cables. This is kind of a 2-part process. The first part is the math, and the second part is the prep and the building of the cables. First, the math. You need to look up the maximum amperage of each piece of equipment and factor in the length of the cable run to choose the correct wire gauge and fuse size. The Victron installation manuals have some minimum wire sizes, some specific wire type requirements, and other things that you need to know here, so it's really good to check them out. Hey guys, I can't stress enough how important it is to have the proper wire sizes here. I'm not going to provide a wire size chart for you because it's kind of your responsibility to make sure that you have the correct wire size and fuse size for your application. For example, industry standards for boat applications are published by the American Boat and Yacht Council, or ABYC. I highly recommend you use the official charts and online calculators from a reputable source like Blue Sea Systems to determine wire sizes. Making a mistake can lead to not only poor performance, but potentially a fire. You should seek a professional engineer and installer when building out your system. This is not a place to go cheap. If you do happen to see any of the wire sizes while watching this video or in anything that I provided, keep in mind that these are the wire sizes I used for my specific installation. Even if you had the exact same system and a Z3400, you still need to do your own wire calculations because the cable run may be just slightly different. Once you have the sizes figured out, you're going to have to do some crimping, and you need a serious set of crimpers to crimp on the lugs. This is the one I used for our installation. After crimping on the lugs, I had some heat shrink tubing. The lugs I got from Amazon come with both red and black, which is really awesome because that helps you identify the wires later on. It gives you a clean, factory finish look, and more importantly, it protects against electrical arcing. So I just hit it with a quick blast of the heat gun, and that's it. It is perfect. Moving on to step 4, wiring up the negative side of our Lynx distributor. The reason here on the Lynx you want to start with the negative side first because it is the bottom bus bar on the Lynx system. Alright, let's run those cables from the negative bus bar to the piece of equipment. Now you don't have to do the final run here. All you have to do is get it through the route. You don't have to lock it in with any zip ties or anything like that. We will do that later. When tightening the lug on the piece of equipment, what I do is I put it on finger tie at first, and then two, I take a socket and I tighten it down until the washer is fully compressed. Finally, what I do is I give it just a little bit more, a little quarter turn, just to make sure that it's on there good and tight and it won't come off, but you do not want to over tighten your lugs. Another quick tip here is to plan your wire routing carefully. You want to keep the cables as short as possible, but leave enough slack to allow for your RV to flex and vibrate as it travels down the road. Alright, step 5, let's get the positive side wired up. The only difference here between the negative side is that we're going to add a fuse for the positive bus bar. When installing the fuses, I like to put the fuses on top of the lugs versus underneath them. This allows you to remove the fuses later if they do happen to blow, and it makes it a lot easier. Alright, step 6 and 7 are a little bit optional for you. Step 6 is you can add an optional but cool feature. If you pair the Lynx with either a Victron Smart BMS or you get a separate power supply, it will tell you when the fuse is blown. Now, the Victron Smart BMS is unfortunately fairly costly, but it will alert you on your screen when you do blow a fuse. For the other way, where you wire in just a DC power supply, the lights will then tell you whether or not a fuse is blown. For right now, I'm going to skip step 6, and we'll do that as its own video later on. Alright, step 7. What if you have more than 4 things to connect? Well, you can add another separate bus bar. Just make sure that you pick an appropriately sized one. I'm connecting the secondary bus bar to the last spot on our Lynx distributor and putting in an appropriately sized fuse for all of the components I'm going to connect to it. This isn't necessarily the best way to do it. The best way would be to buy another Lynx distributor and connect them back to back. You can daisy chain as many of these things as you want together, but that's a little bit costly and a little bit over the top for what I need to do. The small components that we want to attach to it, like the inflator for our paddle board, our macerator pump, and another minor accessory, aren't really that big of an item to put on there. So I think a single fuse will cover that in a bus bar that I can hook to later, and it gives me a little bit more room for expansion later on. And there we have it, folks. The Lynx distributor is fully installed and all of our main components are wired up to it. It provides a super clean, safe, and professional hub for our entire power system. We are getting so close here, folks. In the next video, we're going to connect the Lynx distributor up to our lithium battery and get everything powered up so that we can get it set up before connecting it to our RV. If you found this video helpful or have any questions, drop a comment below. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so that you don't miss the next video in this install series. Until next time, remember, today is your adventure.
Nothing to hold me back, take my time, just enjoy the ride.